If you really want to understand the brain, this incredibly complex machine in our heads, you don't actually start with the brain itself. Nope, you start with two of the most basic fundamental forces in the entire universe. So let's break it down.
I mean, have you ever just stopped and wondered, what is physically happening inside your head? Like, right this second. What's the fundamental energy, the actual spark that's powering every single thought, every memory, every feeling you're having?
Well, believe it or not, the answer isn't hidden away in some super complex biological code. It actually starts with two forces that are literally all around us every single day. You can think of them as the two keys we're going to need to unlock the secret of the electricity that drives our nerves.
Okay, so let's go find that first key. And it's a process you've seen 1,000 times, I guarantee it, probably without even realizing just how important it is. It's this simple but incredibly powerful force of, well, mixing.
So, this force of mixing has a fancy scientific name, diffusion. And it's a really straightforward but powerful idea. It's just that particles, they naturally move from an area where they're all crowded together to an area where there's more space, until eventually everything is spread out nice and evenly.
Just picture this. You drop some food coloring into a glass of water, right? At first, it's just this one concentrated little blob. But then, if you could zoom way in, down to the atomic scale, you'd see all those individual dye molecules just jiggling around, bumping into water molecules, bumping into each other. And over time, all that constant random movement makes the dye spread out. It moves away from that crowded starting point until, eventually the entire glass is just one single uniform color.
There's a fantastic way to describe this. If you could somehow follow just one of those tiny molecules, its path would look totally random and unpredictable. It's actually been called a sort of drunken random walk. I love that. That one little molecule, it has no goal, no direction, it's just stumbling around.
But, and this is the crucial part, even though every single particle is just randomly wandering around, the result, when you look at all of them together, is incredibly predictable. The whole group acts like this powerful, unstoppable force, just constantly pushing everything to spread out evenly. And this process, wow, it is absolutely essential for life as we know it.
All right, so we've got our first key, diffusion. Key number 1, check. Now let's move on to the second one and see how all this starts to build. This next one is all about electricity, something you're definitely familiar with. It's the force of charge. This force is officially called the electrostatic force, and it's basically the foundation of all electricity. It's the energy that exists between these little tiny particles that carry either a positive or a negative charge. It's the whole reason your phone battery works, or why static electricity makes your hair stand on end in the winter.
And you know what? The rules that run this whole show are incredibly simple. Particles with the same charge, so positive and positive or negative and negative, they push each other away, they repel. But particles with opposite charges, a positive and a negative, they pull towards each other, they attract. That's really it. Just a simple game of push and pull. Okay, so we have our two keys. We've got diffusion, right? That's the relentless force of mixing that wants to spread everything out evenly. And we've got the electrostatic force, the force of charge, that pushes and pulls particles depending on if they're positive or negative. So, now we bring them together.
And this is the big question, right? What happens when these two fundamental forces collide? What happens when a particle is being told by diffusion, hey, spread out, but it's also being told by its electrical charge, no, stay put, or come over here? Well, the answer to that question is exactly what's happening inside every single one of your neurons right now. This exact battle is raging, constantly. You've got diffusion pushing charged particles to spread out, while the electrical forces are trying to pull them back in. And the outcome? It's this delicate, really tense stalemate, a slight imbalance of charge right across your neuron's membrane. And that built-up tension, that stored electrical energy that's created by these two opposing forces, that, my friends, is the fundamental power source for every single one of your thoughts.